The war changed everything about how humans thought and fought. Captain Morrison no longer commanded an exploration vessel, but a fleet of modified civilian ships that struck Zephyrian supply lines throughout the outer colonies. His crews were miners, scientists, and traders who had learned to fight because their freedom depended on it. They hit enemy convoys hard and fast, then disappeared into the asteroid fields before reinforcements could arrive. The Zephyrians controlled most of the major population centers, but they found it impossible to control the space between planets. Humans had turned their entire civilization into a weapon that could strike from anywhere and vanish without a trace. Every asteroid base could be a hidden shipyard, every mining station could be a military command center, and every civilian transport could be carrying weapons to the resistance. Dr. Cross established his main research facility inside a hollowed-out asteroid in the Kuiper Belt, so far from the sun that even the most advanced sensors had trouble finding it. His team worked around the clock to develop new technologies that could give humanity an edge against superior alien numbers. They had captured enough Zephyrian equipment to understand how their enemies thought and fought, and they were learning to exploit every weakness. Maya Johnson's greatest achievement was the creation of self-replicating manufacturing drones. These machines could build copies of themselves using materials from asteroids and space debris, spreading throughout the solar system like a technological infection. Every new drone could build ships, weapons, and supplies for the resistance, creating a production network that was impossible for the Zephyrians to completely destroy. The aliens learned to fear human unpredictability more than human weapons. Zephyrian commanders never knew where the next attack would come from or what new technology would be used against them. Human forces appeared in places that should have been impossible to reach, using tactics that violated every rule of conventional warfare. Colonel Sam Parker had become a legend among resistance fighters throughout human space. His mobile command base was hidden in a captured Zephyrian stealth ship that could move between star systems without being detected. From this invisible headquarters, he coordinated strikes against enemy positions across multiple solar systems, always staying one step ahead of alien search teams. Parker specialized in what he called technological warfare, capturing alien equipment and turning it against its creators. His teams had stolen Zephyrian shields, weapons, engines, and computers, bringing everything back to human scientists who reverse-engineered the technology and made it better. Within 6 months, some human ships were actually superior to their alien equivalents. The psychological impact was devastating to Zephyrian morale. These aliens had conquered hundreds of species over thousands of years, but they had never faced an enemy that seemed to grow stronger with each defeat. Human resistance fighters turned every loss into a learning experience, every captured weapon into a new advantage, and every destroyed base into motivation for revenge. Dr. Lisa Williams achieved the breakthrough that changed the entire war when she finally cracked the Zephyrian communication network. Working with captured alien computers, she discovered the encryption keys that allowed humans to monitor enemy messages across the entire galactic sector. For the first time, humanity could see what their enemies were really thinking. The intelligence was both encouraging and terrifying. Zephyrian commanders were reporting to their superiors that humans were unlike any species they had ever encountered. Previous enemies had fought defensively, trying to protect their cities and colonies until they were overwhelmed. Humans fought offensively, striking at Zephyrian weaknesses while protecting nothing except their ability to keep fighting. Admiral Rodriguez read the intercepted messages from her secret base in the Alpha Centauri system. Zephyrian officers were requesting massive reinforcements because human resistance was spreading to other species throughout the galaxy. News of human victories was inspiring rebellions on conquered worlds that had been peaceful for centuries. The collective was facing the worst crisis in their imperial history. The aliens had made a critical mistake in how they understood human psychology. They expected defeated enemies to become demoralized and surrender when faced with superior force. Instead, humans became more determined and creative when they were threatened. Every Zephyrian attack that destroyed human installations just made the survivors angrier and more dangerous. Dr. Carter perfected the quantum resonance disruptor during the 8th month of the war. This weapon could neutralize the exotic matter that powered Zephyrian ships, causing them to lose all power and drift helplessly in space. A single human ship with one of these devices could disable an entire enemy battle group without firing a shot. The aliens had no defense against a weapon that attacked the fundamental physics of their technology. Captain Morrison used the first production model during a raid on a Zephyrian supply depot near Saturn. His ship appeared without warning, fired the disruptor at 12 enemy vessels, and watched them all go dark simultaneously. The alien crews were still alive but completely helpless, as human Marines boarded their ships and captured everything useful. Within hours, the entire Zephyrian garrison had been eliminated without a single human casualty. The success of the disruptor weapon marked the beginning of the Great Counteroffensive. Admiral Rodriguez had been planning this operation for months, coordinating with resistance cells throughout human space to launch simultaneous attacks on 50 different Zephyrian positions. The aliens would face their worst nightmare: humans who were no longer just defending themselves but actively hunting their enemies. Maya Johnson's manufacturing network had produced over 2,000 new warships, each one equipped with the latest human technology and crewed by volunteers who had lost everything to the Zephyrians. These ships were faster, more maneuverable, and better armed than anything the collective had ever faced. More importantly, they were commanded by people who would never surrender. Colonel Parker prepared his most ambitious operation yet, the liberation of Earth itself. Zephyrian forces had occupied the home world for almost a year, but their control was limited to major cities and military installations. Billions of humans lived in areas that the aliens couldn't effectively patrol, and many of them were ready to fight when the time came. The plan was simple but audacious. Human forces would attack every Zephyrian position in the solar system at the same time, using their speed and advanced weapons to overwhelm enemy defenders before reinforcements could arrive. It was the kind of coordinated assault that required perfect timing and absolute commitment from every participant. Dr. Cross made one final breakthrough before the counteroffensive began. His team had developed a way to use captured Zephyrian technology to create a new type of space drive that was faster than anything either species had ever built. Ships equipped with these drives could cross the galaxy in days instead of months, giving humanity the strategic mobility to strike anywhere in collective territory. The stage was set for the most important battle in human history. Everything depended on the next few days, and everyone involved knew that failure would mean the end of human freedom forever. But they also knew that success would prove something that no alien empire could ever understand: that free people fighting for their homes and families were the most dangerous force in the galaxy. President Sullivan walked to the podium in front of the United Earth Assembly with steady steps. Every eye in the room was on her, and she knew that billions more were watching from across human space. The alien deadline was only 6 hours away, and everyone expected her to announce humanity's surrender. Instead, she was about to make the most dangerous decision in human history. "My fellow humans," she began, her voice calm and clear. "Today we face a choice that will define our species forever. We can bow to alien masters who demand we give up our dreams of reaching the stars, or we can stand up and fight for the right to determine our own future. I choose to fight." The reaction was immediate. Half the assembly erupted in cheers while the other half sat in stunned silence. On Mars, colonists gathered around their communication screens and began preparing for war. In the outer colonies, miners and researchers started evacuating non-essential personnel while converting their equipment into weapons. The Zephyrian response came exactly at the deadline. Their ships opened fire on military targets across human space without warning or mercy. Luna Station, humanity's main naval base, disappeared in a ball of fire that could be seen from Earth. Admiral Rodriguez barely escaped in a rescue pod as her command center was vaporized around her. Captain Morrison found himself leading a desperate evacuation of the Outer Rim colonies as alien warships swept through the system like destroyers of worlds. His small exploration vessel was never designed for combat, but he managed to save 300 civilians from a research station before Zephyrian fighters could catch them. The alien ships were fast, but human vessels had one advantage that nobody expected. Dr. Cross had been secretly installing his experimental quantum drives in selected human ships for months. These drives could fold space in ways that made ships appear to teleport short distances. Captain Morrison's ship vanished just as alien weapons fired at him, reappearing thousands of kilometers away in the blink of an eye. The Zephyrian pilots had never seen anything like it. Maya Johnson was working frantically in a hidden asteroid facility when the war began. Her team of engineers had been building new ships in secret for over a year, using designs that combined human creativity with revolutionary new technologies. These ships were smaller than traditional warships but incredibly fast and maneuverable. She called them wasps because they could sting enemies that were much larger than themselves. The first real battle happened near the Jupiter colonies. Commander Ryan Bell led 12 human patrol ships against a Zephyrian cruiser that was hunting down civilian transports. The enemy ship was 10 times larger than all the human ships combined, with weapons that could destroy them with single shots. But Bell had advantages the aliens didn't expect. His ships spread out in a wide circle around the alien cruiser, moving too fast for the enemy gunners to track. The Zephyrians were used to fighting opponents who tried to match their firepower with bigger ships and heavier weapons. They had never faced an enemy that attacked like a swarm of angry insects, appearing and disappearing faster than they could respond. Dr. Carter's new plasma weapons were small, but incredibly effective. They punched through Zephyrian shields like they weren't even there, causing explosions inside the enemy ship that spread like fire. The alien cruiser tried to retreat, but Bell's ships had surrounded it completely. After 20 minutes of hit-and-run attacks, the massive Zephyrian warship broke apart in a series of brilliant explosions. News of the victory spread through human space like lightning. People who had been preparing to surrender suddenly realized that the aliens could be beaten. The Zephyrians weren't invincible gods from space. They were just another species with their own weaknesses, and humans were very good at finding weaknesses. Admiral Rodriguez established a new command center on a hidden base in the asteroid belt. From there, she began coordinating resistance activities across dozens of star systems. Her fleet was scattered and outnumbered, but her captains were learning how to use human advantages against alien weaknesses. The Zephyrians had superior technology and overwhelming numbers, but they fought like a machine that followed predictable patterns. Human commanders were creative and unpredictable, changing their tactics constantly to keep the enemy confused. They attacked when the aliens expected them to retreat, defended when they should have run, and appeared in places where no rational military force would ever go. Colonel Sam Parker emerged as one of the most effective resistance leaders during the first month of the war. He specialized in capturing Zephyrian equipment and bringing it to Dr. Cross's research teams. Human scientists could reverse engineer alien technology faster than anyone thought possible, often improving it in ways the original designers never considered. The breakthrough came when Parker's team captured an intact Zephyrian computer system. Dr. Lisa Williams, a specialist in alien languages, spent 3 weeks decoding the information stored inside. What she found changed everything humans thought they knew about their enemy. The Zephyrian collective was not just one species, but an empire that controlled hundreds of different worlds. They had been conquering other civilizations for thousands of years using the same basic strategy. They would arrive with overwhelming force, demand immediate surrender, and then incorporate the defeated species into their empire as slave workers. But the most important discovery was that no species had ever successfully resisted Zephyrian occupation for more than a few months. Every previous enemy had either surrendered immediately or been completely destroyed within weeks. The collective had grown arrogant and complacent because they had never faced real opposition. Dr. Cross used this information to plan humanity's next moves. Instead of trying to match Zephyrian strength with strength, humans would use speed, creativity, and unpredictability to make themselves impossible to pin down. They would strike fast and disappear before the enemy could respond, always appearing where they were least expected. Maya Johnson's manufacturing systems were producing new ships faster than the Zephyrians could destroy them. Her automated factories, hidden in asteroid belts throughout human space, could build a complete warship in just 3 days. The aliens would destroy one human base only to find that 2 more had appeared in different locations. President Sullivan issued a message to all human colonies 6 weeks after the war began. "We are not just defending our territory," she said. "We are proving that free people cannot be conquered by tyrants, no matter how powerful they might seem. Every day we survive makes us stronger, and every victory brings us closer to final triumph." The war was far from over, but something fundamental had changed. Humans had learned that they could fight the Zephyrians and win. They had proven that superior technology meant nothing without the will to use it effectively. Most importantly, they had discovered that freedom was worth fighting for, no matter what the cost might be. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship and watched the sky turn dark. The stars were gone, hidden behind massive alien ships that appeared without warning above Earth. His hands gripped the control panel as he tried to understand what he was seeing. 3 days ago, he was exploring new worlds beyond the solar system. Now he was staring at the end of everything humans had worked for. The radio crackled with desperate voices from every human colony. Mars Station reported 12 giant ships hanging in their sky. The mining colonies near Jupiter saw 20 more. Even the small research base on Pluto sent panicked messages about alien vessels blocking their view of space. These ships were everywhere at once, like they had been planning this moment for years. Admiral Lisa Rodriguez felt her heart sink as reports flooded into Luna Station. She commanded Earth's defense fleet, but her ships looked like toys compared to these alien giants. Each enemy vessel was the size of a small city, covered in weapons that could destroy planets. Her entire fleet had maybe 50 warships. The aliens had brought hundreds. The first message came exactly 1 hour after the ships appeared. It was broadcast to every human settlement in the galaxy at the same time. The voice was cold and mechanical, speaking perfect English with no emotion. "We are the Zephyrian Collective. You will cease all expansion beyond your current territories. You will dismantle your military forces. You will accept our protection and guidance. You have 72 hours to comply. Resistance will result in complete destruction." President Kate Sullivan gathered her advisors in the emergency bunker deep beneath Washington. The room was filled with the most important people on Earth, but they all looked helpless. General Harrison showed satellite images of the alien ships. Each one bristled with weapons that made human technology look primitive. The energy readings alone suggested these ships could turn entire continents into glass. Dr. Nathan Cross sat quietly in the corner, his mind racing. For 5 years, he had been working on secret projects that most people thought were impossible. His team had discovered new ways to travel faster than light, new weapons that could punch through any armor, new shields that could stop almost any attack. But all of this was still experimental. His prototypes worked in the lab, but they had never been tested in real combat. Maya Johnson, his best engineer, was already running calculations on her portable computer. She had designed the new engines that could make human ships faster than anything the galaxy had ever seen. But building these engines took time, and time was something they did not have. The aliens wanted an answer in 3 days. Dr. Alex Carter was studying the energy signatures from the alien ships. His instruments could barely understand what they were seeing. These ships used power sources that human science had only dreamed about. Their weapons fired beams of energy that could cut through metal like butter. Their shields could probably stop nuclear weapons without even flickering. Admiral Rodriguez called an emergency meeting with all fleet commanders. Captain Morrison joined the video conference from his exploration ship, along with dozens of other officers scattered across human space. The situation was clear to everyone. Human military forces were outnumbered 100 to 1. Even if every human ship attacked at the same time, they would barely scratch the alien fleet. "We need to consider surrender," said General Peterson from Mars Command. "We can't fight this. Our people will die for nothing if we resist." "Surrender means the end of human expansion," replied Captain Morrison. "We just started exploring the galaxy. Are we going to give up our dreams because someone bigger told us to stop?" President Sullivan listened to the arguments from her bunker. Some advisors wanted to negotiate. Others wanted to fight regardless of the cost. A few suggested evacuating Earth entirely and hiding in the outer colonies. But she knew that running would only delay the inevitable. The aliens could track human ships anywhere they went. Dr. Cross finally spoke up during the meeting. "We have options they don't know about. My team has been developing new technologies for years. We have faster engines, better weapons, stronger shields, but we need time to build them." "How much time?" asked President Sullivan. "Months, maybe a year to build enough ships to make a difference." "We have 3 days," Admiral Rodriguez reminded him. Maya Johnson looked up from her computer. "What if we don't build new ships? What if we modify the ones we have? I can retrofit our existing fleet with new engines in a few weeks. The weapons will take longer, but we could start with speed and mobility." The debate continued for hours. Some people wanted to accept the alien ultimatum and hope for the best. Others wanted to fight even though it seemed hopeless. A few suggested trying to run away and hide somewhere the aliens couldn't find them. Captain Morrison thought about his crew, good people who had signed up to explore new worlds and push the boundaries of human knowledge. They didn't deserve to spend their lives as prisoners of an alien empire. But they also didn't deserve to die in a hopeless war against impossible odds. President Sullivan made the decision that would change everything. She stood up in the bunker, surrounded by the most powerful people on Earth, and looked each of them in the eye. "We're not surrendering," she said quietly. "We're not giving up our colonies or dismantling our fleets. If the Zephyrians want to stop human expansion, they're going to have to fight us for it." The room fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. War against an enemy they couldn't possibly defeat. Death for millions of people. The possible end of human civilization. But also something else. The chance to prove that humans would never bow to anyone who tried to take their freedom. Admiral Rodriguez began preparing for the worst. Every ship in the fleet received orders to scatter and prepare for guerrilla warfare. If they couldn't win an open battle, they would make the aliens pay for every inch of space they took. Dr. Cross activated his emergency protocols. Secret factories hidden throughout the solar system began building the weapons and ships that might give humanity a fighting chance. It was their only hope, and time was running out. The great counteroffensive began at exactly midnight Earth time, across 50 different star systems. Captain Morrison led the assault on the Zephyrian command center orbiting Earth, his ship appearing out of nowhere in the middle of the alien fleet. The enemy had been expecting another hit-and-run attack, but this time, humans came to stay and fight until victory was theirs. Morrison's squadron of modified civilian vessels moved like ghosts through the Zephyrian formation, their new quantum drives allowing them to appear and disappear faster than alien gunners could track. Each human ship carried Dr. Carter's resonance disruptors, weapons that could shut down entire enemy vessels without destroying them. The aliens watched in horror as their most powerful warships simply went dark and drifted helplessly in space. Colonel Parker's forces struck the Zephyrian garrison on Mars with devastating precision. His teams had been studying enemy patrol patterns for months, and they knew exactly when and where to hit for maximum effect. The alien defenders never had a chance to coordinate their response before human Marines were storming their command bunkers and capturing their equipment. The liberation of Mars took less than 6 hours. Zephyrian forces that had occupied the Y planet for a year were either captured or destroyed before they could call for reinforcements. Human colonists emerged from hiding to help secure alien weapons and vehicles, turning the planet's manufacturing facilities back to producing ships and supplies for the resistance. Admiral Rodriguez commanded the space battle from her flagship, a hybrid vessel that combined human creativity with captured alien technology. Her fleet of 2,000 warships was smaller than the Zephyrian forces in the solar system, but every human vessel was faster, more maneuverable, and better equipped than anything the enemy had ever faced. The aliens tried to use their traditional tactics of overwhelming firepower and coordinated formations, but these strategies were useless against an enemy that refused to fight the way they expected. Human ships attacked from impossible angles, disappeared when the aliens fired back, and reappeared behind enemy lines to strike at vulnerable targets. Dr. Cross monitored the battle from his asteroid command center, coordinating the technological aspects of the assault. His manufacturing drones were producing replacement ships faster than the Zephyrians could destroy them, while his research teams analyzed every piece of data from the ongoing battles to find new weaknesses in alien defenses. The psychological impact on Zephyrian forces was even more devastating than the physical damage. These aliens had conquered hundreds of species over thousands of years. but they had never faced an enemy that seemed to thrive on combat. Human crews were actually fighting better and more creatively as the battle continued, learning from each engagement and adapting their tactics in real time. General Pete Harrison led the ground assault to liberate Earth's major cities. His forces had been hiding in the wilderness and underground tunnels for months, preparing for this moment. When the space battle began above, resistance cells throughout the planet launched coordinated attacks on every Zephyrian installation simultaneously. The aliens had made a critical error in how they occupied human territory. They concentrated their forces in major population centers while largely ignoring rural areas and smaller settlements. This strategy worked against species that were centralized and dependent on urban infrastructure, but humans were spread across entire continents with millions of people living in areas the aliens couldn't effectively control. Maya Johnson's self-replicating manufacturing drones played a crucial role in the ground campaign. These machines had been secretly building weapons and supplies in abandoned mines and forest clearings for months, creating hidden arsenals that resistance fighters could use when the time came. Every human settlement became a potential military base with access to advanced weapons and equipment. The Zephyrians found themselves fighting a war they didn't understand against an enemy they couldn't predict. Their rigid command structure and standardized tactics were completely ineffective against human flexibility and creativity. Worse, they were starting to receive reports that other species throughout their empire were beginning to rebel as news of human victories spread across the galaxy. Captain Morrison achieved the most symbolic victory when his team captured the Zephyrian orbital command station above Earth. The alien facility had been the center of enemy operations in the solar system, but it fell to human forces in less than 2 hours. The sight of human ships docking with the captured station sent a clear message to everyone watching. The Zephyrians were no longer invincible. Dr. Carter's weapons research had produced increasingly devastating results as the war progressed. His latest creation was a gravitational pulse generator that could create artificial black holes small enough to be fired from a ship-mounted weapon. These miniature black holes would exist for only a few seconds, but they could tear apart the strongest alien armor and disrupt the exotic matter that powered Zephyrian technology. The turning point came when human forces successfully captured an intact Zephyrian dreadnought, one of the massive ships that had first appeared above Earth. To deliver the surrender ultimatum, Colonel Parker's boarding teams fought through the vessel's corridors for 6 hours before securing the bridge and forcing the alien crew to surrender. The captured dreadnought provided human scientists with their most complete understanding of Zephyrian technology yet. Dr. Cross's teams discovered that alien weapons and defenses were actually less advanced than they appeared, relying on brute force rather than innovative design. Human technology, enhanced with captured alien components, was already superior in most areas that mattered for combat. Admiral Rodriguez received surrender offers from 3 different Zephyrian battle groups during the second day of the counteroffensive. Enemy commanders who had never experienced defeat were requesting permission to retreat from human space rather than face continued losses. The psychological dominance had completely reversed. Now the aliens were afraid of human forces. The liberation of the outer colonies proceeded faster than anyone had expected. Zephyrian garrisons that had seemed invincible a year earlier were abandoning their positions rather than face human assault teams. Many alien soldiers were deserting rather than fight an enemy that seemed to grow stronger and more dangerous with each battle. Dr. Lisa Williams intercepted increasingly panicked messages from Zephyrian High Command as reports of impossible defeats poured in from across their empire. For the first time in collective history, their military commanders were admitting that they couldn't defeat an enemy through conventional warfare. Some were even suggesting that humans might be using supernatural powers or unknown alien allies. The truth was simpler but more terrifying from the Zephyrian perspective. Humans were just better at war than any species the collective had ever encountered. They learned faster, adapted quicker, and fought with a level of creativity and determination that alien military doctrine couldn't counter. Maya Johnson's manufacturing systems were now producing ships faster than human crews could be trained to operate them. The resistance had evolved into a full military force, capable of offensive operations throughout the galaxy. What had begun as a desperate fight for survival was becoming a war of conquest that would reshape the balance of power across known space. The stage was set for the final phase of the conflict. Humanity had proven they could defeat the Zephyrian collective in direct combat, but now they had to decide what to do with their victory. 18 months after the Zephyrian invasion began, Admiral Rodriguez stood on the bridge of her flagship as it entered orbit around Kepler 442b, the first alien world to fall under human control. The planet had been a major industrial center for the collective, producing ships and weapons for their war machine. Now it would become the foundation of something the galaxy had never seen before, an empire built on freedom rather than fear. The transformation was remarkable to witness. Alien workers who had labored under Zephyrian oppression for generations were suddenly offered partnership in a new galactic order. Captain Morrison, now promoted to admiral, established the first human colonial administration with policies that shocked the former slaves. Instead of demanding tribute and forced labor, humans offered technological sharing, fair wages, and representation in local government. The response was overwhelming. Within weeks, delegations from dozens of oppressed species were traveling to human-controlled worlds to request protection and alliance. The draconian miners from the Vega system brought their expertise in extracting rare minerals from asteroid belts. The Aquarian engineers from Proxima Centauri contributed their knowledge of underwater construction and marine ecosystems. Each new ally made humanity stronger, while gaining their own freedom from collective tyranny. Dr. Cross found himself managing the largest scientific collaboration in galactic history. His research teams now included brilliant minds from 15 different species, each bringing unique perspectives and capabilities that human science had never considered. The combination of human creativity with alien knowledge was producing technological breakthroughs at an unprecedented rate. Maya Johnson's manufacturing systems had evolved into something that resembled magic more than traditional industry. Her self-replicating drones could now build entire space stations in a matter of weeks, using designs that incorporated the best ideas from multiple civilizations. The hybrid technology was superior to anything either humans or aliens had possessed individually. The Zephyrian collective was collapsing under the weight of rebellions throughout their empire. Species that had been peaceful subjects for centuries were suddenly demanding independence, inspired by human example and supported by human weapons. The collective's military forces were spread too thin to maintain control over their vast territory, while also fighting the advancing human fleet. General Harrison liberated the Zephyrian regional capital at Ross, 128b, after a 3-day siege that became a masterpiece of combined arms tactics. Human ground forces, supported by alien allies who knew the planet's geography, overwhelmed defenders who had never faced such diverse and creative opposition. The fall of this major collective stronghold sent shockwaves throughout alien space. President Sullivan received the first formal surrender offer from Zephyrian High Command 6 months after human forces began their expansion into alien territory. The enemy ambassadors arrived at Earth expecting to negotiate a return to the pre-war status quo, but they found themselves dealing with a completely transformed situation. Humanity now controlled nearly a quarter of the territory that had belonged to the Zephyrian collective, and their new empire was growing larger every day as more species requested human protection. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted so dramatically that the old collective was negotiating from a position of weakness. Dr. Carter had developed defensive systems that made human worlds virtually impregnable. His gravitational shield generators could deflect any known weapon, while his early warning networks could detect approaching threats from dozens of light years away. Any attempt to attack human territory would be detected long before it arrived, giving defenders plenty of time to prepare. The peace negotiations took place aboard the massive human flagship Enterprise, a hybrid vessel that combined technologies from 7 different species into the most advanced warship the galaxy had ever seen. Captain Morrison commanded this floating symbol of the new order, while President Sullivan led the diplomatic efforts to establish a lasting peace. The Zephyrians were forced to accept terms that would have been unthinkable just 2 years earlier. They recognized human sovereignty over all liberated territories and agreed to pay reparations for the damage caused during their invasion. More importantly, they accepted humanity as an equal power and acknowledged the right of all species to choose their own form of government. Colonel Parker established the Terran Federation's intelligence service, using networks of liberated species to monitor collective activities throughout the galaxy. His agents reported that Zephyrian society was undergoing fundamental changes as their leaders struggled to understand how they had been defeated by a species they had considered primitive and weak. The cultural impact of human victory was spreading faster than the military conquest. Alien species throughout the galaxy were studying human philosophy, art, and science to understand the source of their remarkable success. Universities on human worlds were flooded with alien students who wanted to learn about concepts like individual freedom, creative thinking, and democratic government. Maya Johnson's greatest achievement was the development of the Galactic Manufacturing Network, a system of interconnected production facilities that could respond to needs anywhere in human space within hours. If a colony needed emergency supplies, the network could manufacture and deliver them faster than traditional logistics systems could even process the request. Dr. Cross established the Terran Institute of Advanced Sciences on a space station, orbiting Earth, with branches on every major human world and many allied planets. This institution became the center of galactic scientific research, attracting the brightest minds from dozens of species who wanted to participate in the technological revolution that humanity had started. The first Interspecies Council meeting was held on Luna, in a rebuilt facility that had once been Admiral Rodriguez's command center. Representatives from 43 different worlds gathered to establish the principles that would guide the new galactic order. The diversity was extraordinary, beings of every size, shape, and form of intelligence working together to build something better than any empire that had come before. Admiral Rodriguez was elected as the first Supreme Commander of the Terran Federation, responsible for coordinating military forces across hundreds of worlds. Her fleet now included ships from dozens of different species, each contributing their own strengths to create the most formidable naval force in galactic history. The transformation was complete when the Federation established its first colony, beyond the former boundaries of human and collective space. The expedition to the Andromeda Galaxy represented humanity's return to their original dream of unlimited exploration and expansion. But now they traveled not as conquerors, but as leaders of a confederation dedicated to freedom and cooperation. General Harrison spoke at the dedication ceremony for the new colony. His words broadcast to billions of beings across the galaxy. 2 years ago, we were told to surrender our dreams and accept limits on our ambitions. Instead, we built something greater than any empire based on fear and oppression. We proved that free people working together can accomplish anything, even defeating enemies that seem impossible to overcome. The motto inscribed on every Federation ship and station served as a permanent reminder of humanity's greatest moment. We were told to surrender. We built an empire instead. It was more than just words. It was the foundation of a new civilization that would reshape the galaxy for generations to come.